Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran. Today we'll be taking a look at what's it like to play Demon Hunter. Did it get stale and bad in the next expansion, or does it still have this fun, maybe simple, but easy, upbeat, and very mobile playstyle that it currently holds in Battle for Azeroth? Let's be honest. You like Demon Hunters, maybe you don't, but there's a good chance you'll at least try them out at some point. It's a class that seems to be getting a lot of praise for Blizzard, not a lot of nerfs, and overall seems to be a very much wanted combatant in dungeons and raids. So let's take a look at how Demon Hunter is looking in the expansion of Shadowlands Alpha. Early version of Alpha, so everything here might change, so I want to make sure that disclaimer is there. Let's take a look at how they feel to play right now. Demon Hunters have always been a class that mixes mobility, flashy abilities, together with a simple playstyle. It's a rotation that works well. It's a simple build and spend focused rotation with certain abilities having priority depending on which talents you run. It's not a lot of buttons, but when it comes to doing dungeons and raids, being able to backflip out of a explosion or some other spell effect that would otherwise put you at half health is kind of cool. Being able to zoom past enemies and be able to kind of just move over behind them and attack them with a massive I-beam, blast an enemy to smithereens is super great visually. And Demon Hunters with a massive demon form really does inspire a lot of power out of this spec. This is your one big button, be a monster and go ham. So if you're a huge fan of the current playstyle of Demon Hunters with anime backflips and lots of just fast-paced abilities and demonic explosions and lots of fell green, then you'll be happy to hear that it's mostly staying the same in Shadowlands. However, the spec is changing in the nitty-gritty things when it comes to the actual gameplay. Not the rotational part, but in terms of the things and how you can interact with the world that, in a sense, actually nerfs Demon Hunters. Let's first talk about the spellbook. Blizzard is going to be separating spells between class and spec. So for Demon Hunters being a fairly new class, you have certain abilities that as a class, whether you're a tank or a DPS Demon Hunter, you're going to share, and then certain spec specific abilities. Demon Hunter being really fresh off the block, there's not a lot of abilities. Take a look through his spellbook, it is for the most part the same as that of Battle for Azeroth, minus the traits, minus essences, so your abilities didn't really get tagged on. It's interesting because Demon Hunter is still a class that I think is pretty malleable. There's a lot more playstyles that could be explored, and I understand Blizzard would like to keep it for the simplicity's sake. It's a great class for any new player coming into the game, but I think with all this mobility and abilities that have to do with fell magic, there's a lot of creativity that could go into the spec. Maybe in future updates, or maybe by the time that Shadowlands actually comes out of the alpha into the beta, Blizzard might actually tag on new mechanics for Demon Hunters to experiment with. Because there's so many cool abilities, so much potential that could be given. As classes are gaining back abilities that they used to have from previous expansions, Demon Hunter being a fairly fresh class, there's not really a lot to give back to. This could be a perfect opportunity for Blizzard to create new, fun, creative ways to play your Demon Hunter, and they have been able in the past from previous expansions in the talent rows to create actual builds that change up your gameplay. Let's take a look at the Demon Hunter talents, see what you have to work with for the next expansion. So take a look at the current Demon Hunter. If let's say you wanted to play the playstyle you play in Battle for Azeroth, the demonic playstyle, every time you I-beam you transform into a demon for a short amount of time, you can recreate it with even certain traits being baked into talents. You go for demonic, first blood, soul rending because it synergizes well with the demon form. You can go for burning hatred or not, since immolation aura is now a baseline ability. I guess you could say that this ability became baseline, but most Demon Hunters run immolation aura anyway, so it feels like it should be part of it. And even demonic appetite got a few traits from the I-beam playstyle baked directly into the talent. So if you want to play the demonic playstyle right now, you could. It's a playstyle that seems to be really strong. Demonic, however, as a talent has been nerfed a little, so it won't stay in the demon form for nearly as long. And right now with the characters that we have right here, the low amount of haste don't really let you squeeze in a lot of abilities. But it's effective, it's great for self-survivability, and I think it works out really well. But if let's say you're bored of this playstyle, you've played it before, maybe towards the end of Legion and all of Battle for Azeroth, as far as I remember this has been the strongest build. Maybe Momentum at one point was strong. Let's say you wanted to try something new, maybe something from Legion. You could play Momentum. Go Momentum, maybe even Demon Blades. I would go for Essence Break because it feels great to play and it looks so cool. And you can even go with talents like Blind Fury or Fellblade, whatever you may want to play. But besides that, this is as far as I've gotten with Demon Hunter, and of course you can change talents a little, but this is the most that you can do to alter your playstyles. Demon Hunters definitely will have different things they could do when it comes to Covenants and Soulbinds, as Soulbinds will give you passives that will play you through certain builds. Even choosing specific Covenants for Covenant ability will dictate your playstyle as well. Besides that, it doesn't feel like there might be a lot of creativity. And if you're someone who doesn't really care about having creative fun builds or a variety of talents, then this is not going to be a deal breaker for you at all. However, if you really do care about having to play different playstyles and a lot of variety in your spec, then Demon Hunter, we don't really know if it's going to have any. I'm not saying that it won't. It's a perfect opportunity for developers to add something new to Demon Hunter because it really does need some fresh new ideas. Maybe even take certain honored talents that are super fun to play with and add them into basic abilities. Another thing to consider for Demon Hunter is going to be the level 35 row, because this will be a survivability row, and Blizzard is really toning back survivability for Demon Hunters. First of all, Soul Rending will be the only way for you to have Leech inside a meta form. You no longer have any basic Leech while inside a Metamorphosis. This isn't a deal breaker for Demon Hunters that do dungeons and raids, but if you're someone who values self-survivability, you have to go for Soul Rending. So Soul Rending is going to be your self-survivability or Nether Walk for that immunity, really making it a difficult choice. Even Desperate Instincts buffs your Blur, because now Blur only has a 20% damage reduction instead of what 35 that it has on live. It has been nerfed as well. So Demon Hunters Flatline on survivability have been heavily nerfed. Another nerf that's also going to be weird is Blade Dance. Normally you would be able to use it to dodge an ability, only now works in demon form. So that's going to be very interesting take by Blizzard in terms of what they're doing with Demon Hunter. It's a class that already doesn't have a lot of abilities, and we can all agree it's pretty strong in Battle for Azeroth. I won't say it's like the best rank 1 class that tops all the damage charts, because sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but it definitely performs well in majority of the content, whether you do PvP, casual or competitive, whether you do dungeons, they're generally pretty good in there too, and even raids. While they might not be the top DPS like a Fire Mage, but they still will be valued and will do very well for the class and what they bring. But you really shouldn't let the nerfs sour your experience. Demon Hunters still bring a debuff. They still have Darkness, which by the way, that's a 5-minute cooldown now, so even that has gotten nerfed, but they still bring great utility that other classes can use inside of dungeons and even raids in order to make their PvE experience easier. And in PvP, I don't doubt that they will continue to still be a really solid and a good class to pick up. The most important part about Demon Hunters is it's still very fun to play. Unless you are tired and bored of the gameplay loop, which I think is effective, and just because it's an easy class doesn't mean it's bad by any measure. If you're not bored of the gameplay loop, then I think you might enjoy Demon Hunter. They still bring quite a bit to the team. And with these nerfs, they're not going to be quite as, I guess the best way to describe it would be like a Swiss Army knife. They're not going to be quite as self-sustainable with massive defensives and so much utility, and they ranged interrupts with an interrupt, a variety of different stuns. So they really do bring a lot, and Blizzard is just kind of toning them down rather than completely nerfing them. Or at least that's how I look at these changes. I would say Demon Hunters are still going to be pretty strong for the expansion of Shadowlands, and maybe this is me saying this early because we're really in the early alpha. But if Blizzard literally keeps the class as it is, I think it still bring plenty to your groups, and you still have majority of that gameplay loop still stable and there from a previous expansion, where it's fun to play, very mobile. It really tackles the things that Demon Hunters do well right now. You'll still bring incredibly strong, yet a more longer cooldown utility to provide to your teams in dungeons and raids. And overall, the simplicity of the gameplay, while something I would personally like change, it is a gameplay loop that works. It is simple, but it's fun, and it's very effective, even in the Shadowlands Alpha. Thank you guys so much for checking out this video. Let me know your thoughts about Demon Hunters on the Alpha. Is it a class you even think of checking out? But let's be honest, it's a class most of us will at least try out at one point or another. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see all of you in another video.